But this is going to be game one, Dig versus Leftovers on Battlefield of Eternity. It's Leftovers map pick. And honestly, this draft was kind of interesting to me because Leftovers are somewhat noted for playing a lot of Tracer and Maev. So Dig first picks Maev, they take that away. But Tracer is just ignored, and Tracer's not good on Battlefield of Eternity, in my opinion. Battlefield of Eternity is a relatively late game map. Tracer's power spikes are at 13 and 16, and just every level in general helps Tracer because Pulse Bomb scaling is nutty. Pulse Bomb has the highest scaling of anything in the entire game. So every level you get, you essentially have a slightly larger advantage in terms of kill pressure than you had in the previous level. Which means if you're ahead in levels, it's even better, but you're not going to usually get ahead with Tracer. You have to play patiently and wait, and the game just takes longer on BOE. So not only did they take Tracer here, but they didn't prioritize like a Haka for one of the heavy side soakers. They prioritized Urel instead. BOE is not a good late game map. There we go. It's a relatively early game map. That said, the major experience disadvantage you end up seeing on Battlefield Eternity, since the objective itself gives equal amounts of experience to both teams, is a structure disadvantage. So, interesting. Dig could potentially have better race. Sardonic524 just subscribed. Thank you for the sub. Welcome to the guest list. Dig could theoretically have better race with Mark, particularly if Poik goes for Exterminator, in which case Leftovers would be forced to walk at them, which, not so good. Without further ado, Dig versus Leftovers, game one. Make sure this is the right one. Some of these replays are actually mislabeled, so gotta make sure that we're actually looking at the right one. On the left-hand side, we do have Dignitas. We have Snitch on Maev, Poik on Raynor, Wubby on Blaze, Zalia on Tyrande, and JPL on Tyrael. On the right-hand side of the map, we have Potty Boss on Urel, Blakitney on Ming, Mopsio on Kara, Linked on Deckard. Arguably, I would say that Linked is probably the best Deckard EU, by the way. So, and DAB on Tracer. Didn't Slapjack fix them? He fixed them on Master League, but I downloaded these directly from the Blizzard Google Drive. It is going to be Ace in the Hole, so we are not going to see Exterminator, which means that Dig is going to be quote-unquote forced to fight. But, you know, early game is especially, Tracer has a very favorable matchup, or excuse me, Raynor has a very favorable matchup into Tracer. Maev, I would argue, is favorably matched up into Garrosh, so they're going to have a relatively strong early game fighting advantage in skirmishes and in fights. They also have a lot of merc pressure potentially with the Maev, regardless of what Raynor goes for. And you can see just the difference in the wave clear here. Dig is instantly stepping up, clearing the wave. Even on two-lane maps, having a wave clear advantage can matter because you start to get this chip damage, you start to get a vision advantage from the wave pushing up. You know, Dig is going to, if they do that again, they'll be able to move down and get this bottom camp. Wave clear, arguably most important thing in the entire game. And you can make it work with having less, but it's just always easier to have more. And they're immediately going to step down, look for this camp. Mopsio is going to keep an eye on it. He's going to wait for his team to clear and then step in. So now his damage and his follow-up CC is in range. Blakitney over the wall, but they're just not there in time. And Mopsio, unfortunately, gets hit by that raw lunar flare on his way out and will end up going down. Maybe, no, he barely managed to get out of the way. Armor is apparently completely overpowered. Mopsio manages to get out of there. But he does have to back. He does not want to burn his tap at this point in the game because his tap would not be available during the objective phase if he did so. And Tyrael with Justice for All is actually helping enable this siege so incredibly well. Tyrael, the anti-wave clear hero. It's one of his primary roles in the game. He will have to back for mana before the objective phase starts. Boink. A little bit of trouble there. Mopsio just ran at him and almost made something happen. Meanwhile, in top lane, Wubby is just completely AFK because you don't really do much into a Urel as a Blaze. This means Urel is going to have the rotational advantage, but rotating to where? It's too long a rotation on BOE. to actually do anything. So as long as Wubby keeps the minion waves physically off his towers, he's going to lose some health on his gate, but he doesn't really care too much about that. There's going to be a full rotation to secure this camp early, and we're going to see Dig doing the exact same thing. Hopefully both teams do hold it for the correct timing. Nope. Ooh, that was rough. Mopsio not only capped that early, but he didn't cap it with the wave coming, which means that if Wubby decides to step up and clear this wave, the camp itself will actually be in a position, but they're actually going to have a DAB push top as well. So hopefully this will result in something happening. Dig capped their camp quite a bit later. It's going to be significantly harder for Leftovers to clear that. And it looks like Wubby can just step up. They even get the advantage of the tower hitting the Shaman. The dog not spawn at the right time to avoid that. And that camp did basically nothing, unfortunately. That was very bad timing from Leftovers. Meanwhile, bot lane, again, very difficult for Li Ming to clear the Shaman with the minion wave in the way, so she's clear the minion wave first, and then the dogs respawn. And if Lakitni steps out here, he does have vision of the enemy team, so he could step out there and clear it as efficiently as he wanted to. He does finally manage to get it done, but a lot more damage done. And this isn't a map where every hit point on every building matters, but being ahead in structures is always a feels-good experience, and Dig is even ahead in the race at this point as well. Wubby getting body blocked on his jet propulsion is actually hugely significant here. DAB is forced to tank towers to secure this kill, however, and Wubby with his trait is going to be actually fine. Looks like both teams are sort of resetting, looking potentially can we do things. We're going to see some poke done to the Immortal. Dig doesn't want to commit to this, but they're going to start to zone with the Tyrael, and now they're 5-man committing. They're looking for it. They see that everyone is here. Raw Lunar Flare does not hit anything. Snitch would have been there for the follow-up, and then beautiful Unstoppable from Mopsio to deny the jet propulsion. Huge root in the middle. It does hit Snitch, but no one's in range to actually do anything with it. Potty Boss eating onto his team, giving them some armor, getting that stacked up. And Mopsio may get pulled here. He does, and that's a CC chain from the gods right there. Dignitas secures that kill into Mopsio. Mopsio is so split from his team there, unfortunately, and with no mobility, it takes him a while to walk away, whereas Snitch can just teleport directly onto him. In race positions now, Potty Boss will end up going down. Dig not going to settle for just that one kill. They're doing the slow chase off of the kill on Mopsio. Now, a lot of the race, all the race is technically alive for Leftovers, so there is still a chance that if they'd gone immediately, they would have been able to get this, but Dig zoned them off just long enough. 2,420 is the loss. That's a Li Ming combo, or two. Very, very close in terms of the race potential. DAB body soaking bottom, waiting for Potty Boss to get there. I'm surprised he actually didn't stay and make sure that no experience was missed there. They really, really want to get to the late game. And it's going to be Yrel versus Blaze in the bot lane. The battle of the off lanes continues. Correct decision from Lakitni there. It's actually better to prioritize the minion wave over the Immortal itself when you're looking at these area damage abilities. The minions do a ton of damage to buildings and need to be cleared. And again, the problem with Li Ming is it's very hard for her to do that. She needs to get the angle, so Lakitni taking advantage of that momentary opportunity where he had it. And that is going to be the wall. That's going to be the minimum that we're essentially looking for from an average objective on Battlefield of Eternity for the first phase, especially one with a low shield. It gets the wall, that's fine. Sometimes you can even save the wall if the shield is low enough and you have the right kind of comp, but not necessary here. And Potty Boss, again, just trying to outweight clear Wubby. Going to be a little bit more difficult now that level 7 has been achieved. Wubby now has Crossfire, which significantly increases his wave clear. Huge fight at the top lane here. Dig being a little bit greedy and then fighting in this choke. Lakitni is going to have Calamity as well and is getting these resets. Azalea is stuck here. And Snitch on the backside trying to get on Linked. I don't know what exactly happened there, but Dig looked like they were incredibly split, whereas Leftovers was laser focused on getting those kills. And that does set up Leftovers to be in a relatively good position. And again, they're even in experience. They're even a little bit ahead in experience, even though they're slightly down on structures, not even very down on structures. But it does put them in a situation where, you know, they have the later game composition in a lot of ways. Being even is pretty good. When you're even with the Tracer comp going into 10, 13 and 16, you're in very good condition. So being even into 10, big advantage for them. Snitch doing Maya things, getting that bottom. Camp out. Wubby's going to be able to finish off this tower if he chooses to do so. Nice use of Neural there, purely for mana sustain. And again, the Crossfire wave clear advantage is showing. Polyboss can't really step up here. It's in a 2v1, doesn't want to risk it. Li Ming coming down to help clear. Li Ming is their main wave clear hero in their comp, as sad as that might sound. And we're going to see DAB again catching Soak. Leftovers needs to keep doing this. They need to keep having these odd laning arrangements where they send random heroes to catch and to clear, because they have only so many tools in their individual hero kits that allow them to do it. They really also just want to get level 10 so they can force halftime basically for free. And Dig is aware of that potential disadvantage. There were 3 uncasted sets yesterday. So both teams actually managed to get 10 at the same time. Dig making up essentially for the slight experience disadvantage by... It looked like a disadvantage, but it actually wasn't there. They just cleared the waves later than Leftovers did, so it looked like they were at a larger deficit than they were. And we may actually get some damage. We're going to get some damage onto this building here, but we do have to... that does have to be cleared, less to get the entire fort basically for free. And DAB just stepping up. Well, be attempting to go for that crossfire hit. It doesn't look like DAB took the full damage from it. But Leftovers in a position where if they do start to win, they can actually immediately transition and then finish the Immortal, which is a huge advantage for them. This defensive positioning means that Dig is forced to come onto them to put this poke damage on. And I'm a little bit concerned that DAB is out here by himself. Where are you going, DAB? He does manage to blink away. It is a Tracer, but it is very, very risky. Oh! Meanwhile, we get the taunt in the middle. JPL is going to be absolutely fine, unfortunately. Did not even have to burn Sanctification to save himself there. Taunt was used. That was a very split fight from both teams. Both teams trying to play around with vision. It looks like Leftovers may be trying to transition the Immortal at this point. They have opted not to fight now that they do not have the cooldowns, so they're focusing on getting the transition. Potty Boss might eke his way bottom to get that little tiny bit of experience. DAB getting the poke, but poking a Rainer, not really a thing that Tracers do. Snitch on the flank here. You might actually take that E. No, opts not to do so. Mopsio riding up from the flank here, does not get anything. Potty Boss on the deep flank does get the dismount onto Wubby. Mopsio with the Q combo, but he can't quite actually find anyone in range. Potty Boss actually missing his E there, is forced to pop his R just to live. Sanctification comes down, he will manage to E away. Wubby extremely low on mana at this point. Potty Boss is going to go harvest the potion farm that has been developing in the backline from Linked. And Mopsio with the taunt into the Immortal stun, but Snitch barely already had the E out. He actually pops Warden's Cage just for the self-peel, but he will end up going down. Wubby is forced out. And Zalia may end up going down as well. Gets run down by Potty Boss, unfortunately. And that should be Leftovers getting a full Immortal. They're sending all of their race while all of their other heroes zone. They are going to get the root on a Poik there, but no damage in range for the follow-up. Potty Boss does need to get out of here. Yes. Completely out. Whew. And that is going to be Leftovers picking up the Immortal. They don't have a very large shield. They do have some siege potential with the Li Ming. And you can see Dig clearing out the minion wave, making sure the minion wave does not get stacked up there. And push with the Immortal itself. Potty Boss, again, prioritizing that top lane. I'm actually surprised to see him rotate down this early. Again, Leftovers really, their major power spikes are at 13 and 16, which is something that I would really like them to start appreciating a little bit more, but they are going to get 13 off the wall here, possibly, especially with the wave, and that is going to help them a little bit. They also have the Lornado. Maybe they can look for a Lornado pick off the slow here, but with Tyrael speeding everyone away, it looks like that's not going to be able to happen. That level 7 talent for Tyrael coming in handy to deny the engage potential of the Deckard. And they're not going to get much more than this, unfortunately. And again, the situation, I really like Potty Boss to go top. Blaze is already heading up there to make sure that soak happens. And even out a little bit of the experience deficit. They get the camp basically for free, and Dig actually proactively getting their Roozers just in case Leftovers decides to invade with their talent advantage. Dig is getting it first. That's something you can always need to be concerned about. You can talk about camp timings all day, every day, but you have to react to the situation in the actual game. And if the enemy team has a talent tier advantage, they can decide to just 5-man invade if they choose to do so. And that means that you have to clear the camp. You, not only do you not get the camp, but you have to clear the camp, and they could eventually push with it, look for more damage. And with this full 5-man rotation top, you can see Dig is unwilling to split, so they're going to stay together. They're going to use their camp to push bottom. If they can get this naked fort down, they'll have 13 themselves. That top pressure is a real thing. That camp should be able to get some pressure in the top lane. You can see they're staying long enough to at least get the fountain. But now they're on even talent tiers. They could actually look to fight, and they would really like to do so. Potty Boss getting the knock away. Into the frayed out. That is Bunker essentially traded for Into the Fray. Not the best trade in the world overall, but everyone's going to get out alive and well. Leftovers is going to clear. Dignitas now has the room to go clear top, and DAB actually going to end up going down. Raw Lunar Flare plus Rainer's Raiders doing the rundown there. Leftovers probably could have gotten 16 during this this in-between objectives phase if they'd played for it, but they did not. And now that Dig has this advantage, they have a numbers advantage, they're actually going to go for this invade onto the point. Lornado zoning away Poik, but Poik can just shoot people over the wall. That's fine. He doesn't care that much. Cage forcing people off of the point. And Cage actually interacting with the terrain there in a very amusing fashion. So now Leftovers has to use their limited wave clear to clear that camp before it gets in the fort. And meanwhile, Dig manages to force the transition. So, less than ideal. Leftovers had a distinct advantage. They still have a distinct advantage in terms of experience, but they had a distinct advantage after the previous objective phase, which if they'd played around, they could have potentially gotten 16 going into the phase. But Dig rushed bottom. Leftovers said, okay, you want to fight even? We'll fight even. That's fine. And they lost the even fight, even though it did end up being just DAB getting picked off. Potty Boss, again, clearing that bottom lane. And Leftovers is being a little bit more conservative at this point. They're deciding to fight under their Immortal. This is going to be 5. DAB looking for that deep flank potentially, but Dig ends up retreating back into the left because they don't have vision of that bottom. Generally, you retreat into open space. You do not retreat into bushes. And beautiful taunt. This is the problem with the Tyrael versus Garrosh matchup. If you have enough capacity to 100-0 Tyrael, Tyrael will eventually go in, he will get taunted, and then he will die. It's the first time we've actually seen it happen this game, I think, with the taunt combination onto Tyrael specifically. Poik getting some poke damage, and it's actually relatively safe for the damage to step up here from Dignitas at this point, just because they know the race is happening. They can see from the way it's decreasing that must be Tracer and Li Ming. The Raw Lunar Flare does miss. Lots of knockbacks coming through. Wubby actually misses his Jet Propulsion, but does activate his trait. 25 armor, he should manage to get out of here, but he is completely out of mana and will eventually have to back. The Cage comes out, essentially for self-peel for the team. Bunker in the Choke actually denies any potential for chase. Not sure if that Bunker was necessary, but it is 100% safe at this point, and the race is not quite equalized yet. JPL back on the map. Wubby does have tap available, so he's taps for the mana, and again, they're looking for these flanks. Looking at the back line, we're going to see the armor come. It looks like Potty Boss actually got stunned before that E finished, so his team does not get the armor. He's forced to pop Scarlet just to survive. Dig now stuck in a choke, but they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be punished for it. It looks like Leftovers is not in position to follow up. And again, more Raw Lunar Flares, and they do barely win the race. 1,090 remaining. Dig, wow. Despite being a talent tier down, they do win the race. They need 16, though. They absolutely need 16 for the experience. It's huge that they got that because it gets them so much closer to 16. We'll just, come over. For some odd reason, it's under Mercenaries is where the experience gets counted in the replay. So Dig got a huge boost from the objective there in terms of experience, most of the way to 16 at this point. And Wubby will be able to get it, the rest of it bottom while the team gets it top. Leftovers doing the absolute correct thing here in terms of forcing this fight behind the Immortal with the talent tier advantage. But Sanctification comes out, Garrosh ends up going down. I think Moxio actually had W available there, so he could have healed if there'd been a target available, but with Sanctification going down, you can't W anyone, so you cannot get that health boost. And Wubby just diving at this point, does have Bunker. They're trying to get that damage onto him, and they do. Linked ends up going down. And this is now a 5v2 with the Immortal pushing. The Immortal should end up going down a core here momentarily, but it is Ming and Tracer live. It's all the damage. So if Tracer can get Ming even one reset, there is some chance that Leftovers manages to defend this. Cage going down on the core. I don't know if that cage was strictly necessary. I think that's Snitch saying that we definitely have the game. As soon as the core hits 8%, the game is guaranteed over, and that is going to be 0. Did Leftovers throw this? I would argue that Leftovers threw by not playing for the 16 spike. If it's something that if you're aware of each XP interval on every map, it becomes obvious. I don't know if they threw it per se. There was still a very good chance that Dig could move around the map in such a way that made it very dangerous for Leftovers to play correctly. But at the same time, so that was game 1. Wait, I have to turn spoilers on so that I can see game 2. And then I have to turn spoilers off so that you guys don't see the spoilers. Okay. So Leftovers versus Dignitas, game 2, Cursed Hollow. Everyone weirdly ignoring Hanzo. I don't know. Leftovers ends up banning it 3rd. This is... so they ban Abathur Medivh, which you just can't deal with those heroes. Leftovers prioritizes their Maiev. Dignitas responds with Garrosh Tyrande, which is going to be a heavy team fight composition. Leftovers gets Deckard, again prioritizing Link's best support, arguably, and they get the Dahaka to sort of help them out with the global, with the macro issues. And then Dig bans Ming, so Ming is what they saw in the previous game. This is a better map for Ming in a lot of ways. Also, it doesn't exactly telegraph it, but it sets them up to safely take the hammer pick in the current meta, which is what they're going to do. And so Leftovers has the global advantage, but Dig has the hammer advantage. Because they can push, they can force the global to come in if they want to have the number advantage fight, but then they can just leave. So, and Leftovers responds with the Murden Gul'dan. I don't like the Murden matchup into Garrosh. I feel like whoever's better just wins, and drafting a skill matchup, top teams versus top teams, can be very rough, to say the least. And Gul'dan, he needs to get his E stacked up completely before he's actually a threat to hammer. In the early game, it's not so threatening. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this before the actual game start. So on the left-hand side of the map, we have Snitch on Zeratul, Poik on Hammer, Wubby again on Blaze, Zelia on Tyrande, and JPL on Garrosh. On the right-hand side of the map, we do have Leftovers, Potty Boss on Dahaka, Linked on Deckard, Mopsio on Murden, Blakitny on Maiev, and DAB on Gul'dan.
The battle begins.
Leftovers is definitely going to spread out at the start here because they don't know which lane the hammer is going to go to, and if they end up guessing a lane and are wrong, they're going to lose basically the entire wall, or at least a tower and a gate for free. Everyone misses the Tyrande this time, so Dig now knows where Leftovers is not. They know they're not mid. It's actually incredibly valuable information. Poik doesn't care though. Poik's just gonna checking the bush with the mines. Like, oh, they're not here. Great. Gets into the tower range. JPL with the zoning queue, making sure that the collapse can't happen there. If that had been 3 people, wouldn't have mattered. Would have been absolutely fine. And then Zelia. So once you see the hammer, you pretty much know where everyone is, because this is going to be a 3-man that should stick together the majority of the game. DAB checking the bush there with the E, looking for a stack. Actually ends up getting one. Dahaka, meanwhile, on the mid anchor. Wubby is essentially double soaking here. It's you can't do this without missing some experience, but Wubby actually using his trait even to get the wave clear advantage, and Potty Boss not using Burrow here going down. Meanwhile, Maiev gets caught from the Zeratul rotation, and you don't normally expect the double soaking blaze, but the moment you see the double soaking blaze, you have to understand that, oh, Zeratul could be top, Zeratul could be there, and that ends up being a 4v3, or in this case a 4v1, because Maev was just looking for a flank and ended up getting caught out. Meanwhile, Zeratul doing siege. And we're going to see Mopsio should not show and should not clear the wave. Oh, he cleared it! Oh, that feels so bad. This is a very unusual situation that you do occasionally run into. If no one's there to soak the wave, you actually don't want to clear it because more minions will die to the minion versus minion combat, and that makes the enemy team miss more soak. You're actually saving soak when you clear in these situations where the enemy team is late on their rotation. And if you are going to be there anyway. So he does get the advantage of being able to rotate away and gets the flank on the Zelia here, but unfortunately no damages in range to follow up, so it ends up being meaningless. And meanwhile, Dahaka, with the siege out, is going to have a slight pushing advantage into Wubby in the bottom lane. This is now going to be a 4v4 top. Both teams missing a fair amount of experience here, but at least Dig is trading it for structures directly. Mopsio. Oh, beautiful body block here from Snitch with the blink, and Mopsio does not have jump available. I think he's gonna go down here. No, Link does get there in time with the potion. Nice follow-up into the stun. Jumps in, actually Goomba stomping onto Dignitas, and that ends up being 2 kills for none. Mopsio barely living there, but what's health to a Muradin? You have a trait. It's gonna come right on back. Poik extremely low in the background there. We're going to see DAB get some free shove onto the structures here. Actually doing a significant amount of damage, going to heal himself up to full as well. The map uptime of Gul'dan is his primary claim to fame. And actually using E there, I'm surprised to see that. Maybe he thought Poik was right there, but now with E down, Poik can actually siege up relatively safely to help clear this wave. And JPL is going to be here, so Poik is now allowed to back. And again, beautiful owls checking for vision. Linked absorbs it, but Dig now is 100% aware of what's going on. Leftovers is on Bruisers. JPL not showing. I actually think he's not even soaking. He does move over it. There we go. As the minions are getting ready to die. That's the JPL that I know and love. And we're gonna have the response from Dig getting their own Bruisers as well to sort of match. They're capping it. They're gonna hold until the Bruisers push in just a little bit more. They actually want to, ideally they would wait for this next minion wave to spawn, so they're syncing it up and they can have some advantage. They really want to make sure that they win this tribute. If they don't win this tribute, they're going to be forced to win the next tribute. And if they do that, look at that timing. We're just gonna appreciate. Oh yeah, the camp's right behind the minion wave. Actually perfectly timed. And this is going to allow them not only to clear at their gate, so using their towers to clear the enemy team's camp, but they're going to have this very efficient push that's going to give them vision advantage in this entire lane, which means that all of these approaches are going to be covered by the minion wave. Meanwhile, Zelia making sure that Potty Boss cannot backdoor. Using the owl, has the stun range. He's 100% safe to be interrupting this. And then they move down, they use the camp to control the entire area, and then they focus on the camp. So clean by Dignitas, always focusing on area control and then focusing on objective in order. You don't focus on the objective and then expand outward. You try to control the area and then just use that control to to achieve your specific objective. It's so incredibly clean. And they needed to win that. They needed to execute that perfectly, and they did. Snitch, moving to the top lane. They're checking boss with the owl. We are going to have the siege kept up. Zelia moving around, tanking, dodging the shots so that Poik can do his thing. Meanwhile, we have DAB. I'm surprised this isn't a Maev, but Maev is already moving into the top lane. And again, with the owls, always checking these camps. Dig essentially has map hacks. When you have a good Tehran player, you essentially just have map hacks. You always know what the enemy team is doing. You know if they're on boss, you know if they're on siege, you know if they're on bruisers, and you can therefore use that information to decide what you want to do as a response. And again, trying to establish control of the chokes around where the tribute is going to be. This should 100% be Leftovers tribute. They're even threatening 10 first, but Dig is going for it. Dig is looking at the flanks here. They have Zeratul clearing. Blakitny is forced to come down. Snitch not letting the thing happen. Unfortunately, Maev's not the best duelist in the world. She kind of needs more than one person. And 10 achieved 4 leftovers first, but they're not even starting to channel the objective. They're not in position to do so. Mopsy's going to step up here. Link actually steps back. And it's going to go all the way around. I'm surprised Link stepped back there. Mopsio stepped up and created space. They could have potentially had Link channel there. It's going to start to throw out potions. Snitch is going to get the interrupt with the W and then is going to E over the wall. Significant cooldowns for him, but that is an important, bought them important time for Poik to step up here. Huge E, actually. So much damage coming out from Blakitny there. Mopsio gets thrown away. And now Dig is just a little tiny bit at a time inch their way into this choke. And I feel like leftovers, like, this is the choke. This is what they want. But huge cooldown usage there. Zeratul, meanwhile, in the backline. We're going to see the peel. Lornado coming out doesn't really do much this game. Lornado not been getting the effect we use. Containment Disc onto Blaze to deny the bunker save value, but they don't actually manage to get the 100% focus fired down on a target while it's up. Blaze immediately bunkers out of it. Again, killing the choke here. These bunkers and the chokes have been almost a story that Wubby's been telling this entire set. He really likes to bunker in chokes to deny engage potential. That's Poik's unstoppable down. And so much interrupt. Actually, an overlap of interrupt there. The Owl would have gotten it alone, but Wubby also throwing down the Blaze. E-ing in, just a gap close. Unexpected. Leftovers did not react to that in time. Being unpredictable with your movements is something that movement abilities can give you, and it is important at this high level of play on low ping, because people will see you coming and will react to you in time. You know, Mopsio would have gotten a stun if someone just walked up and tried to interrupt there, but that was an E-in. Blakitny does get caught on the rotation there, but is fine. Manages to E away. Is forced to burn Vault, and Leftovers actually picks up the Bruiser Camp in the middle of all this. Mopsio digging in a huge dig into the background, and Gul'dan actually gets 5-man focused with the BFG, instantly goes down. They knew Dig was there on that flank, and they decided to just ignore it and just go, but the Horrify was not enough to split the fight. And as a result, their only ranged hero going down, they're going to be forced to give this tribute. They simply don't have any kind of poke at this point. And that is going to be the tribute after a 2-minute fight that started at level 10 to 9 3/4, going over to Dignitas. Blakitny doing my things, making sure that siege giant gets out. I imagine that we're going to see Zeratul head straight to this siege camp when he is alive and well. There it is. Nice side step by JPL. DAB looking to finish the stacks. He's at 26 out of 40 right now. And again, we're seeing the exact same response from Dig. Just clearing and then getting their camp. They're trying to get the camps basically on cooldown. Leftovers actually looking potentially for the invade here. This would be a huge invade, especially since this... Oh, and they're going for the dig. So this is going to be a brief 5v3 because of the fact that Zeratul's not here, but Zeratul's going to blink over the wall and VP the backline. Oh, they're fighting over the point. They need to focus Wubby. Wubby gets in the bunker. That does not control the point, so he's going to get out of the bunker. And fighting in a choke into a BFG ends up being a little bit of a mistake. DAB going down again, and it's amazing, these fights, how Dig is just consistently getting the first kill on their target of choice, despite all these frontliners, despite all the heft between DAB's Gul'dan and Dignitas. They're just like, let's just kill DAB first. How does that sound, guys? And everyone's like, okay. And they just managed to pick him out every single time. Link's taking the town portal back to the soak there. And Blakitny will actually go down here as well, it looks like. Snitch barely living. Picks up a globe on the way out. He's like not even close. Is going to be able to back up. And Hammer sieging into a curse. Oof, they're sieging with a camp. This top camp also going to get a ton of value. This needs to be addressed right now. Dahaka, meanwhile, in the bottom lane, is going to mitigate... The siege camp will mitigate some of the curse value in the bottom lane. Nice burrow to dodge the tower shot. Get the full value out of his Dark Swarm. Dig is actually apparently committing to this mid. They really want to get this mid keep. This first curse, getting a keep, is very unusual. You know, it went from 2 forts to 3 with the minion changes. That was the average, but getting a keep is still relatively unusual. Beautiful zoning Lornado here. And again, we're going to see the containment disc onto Blaze. And Horrify actually ends up getting dodged by the bunker. Oof. 2 kills secured for Dignitas. That is definitely, at a minimum, going to be Mimikkeep. I'm very surprised that that ended up working out that way. Even though they're getting the containment disc onto Blaze consistently, they're not managing to turn that containment disc into kills while Blaze is stuck and cannot bunker for his team. They're just not quite managing to do it. Feels like Leftovers is having a slight coordination issue. And 2 keeps now gone. The siege were not addressed in any way, shape, or form. And this is the risk. If you go for the heavy defense on a curse when the enemy team is camps pushing instead of defending the camps first, you might win the fight, but you might just lose even more. The risk versus reward for fighting when the enemy team has curse is very, very high. The reward is if you get the kill, win the fight, you can get to a point where you maybe don't lose any structures. Oh! And that is a taunt throw. Beautiful setup by JPL. I don't think Mopsio expected him to be in that bush that far out. They weren't actually on the boss. They were essentially baiting the boss by being off the map. Whew. This will be in a this boss will be in a lane that still has a keep and a fort remaining, so Dig won't necessarily be able to end off of this, but they can put themselves in a situation where they can simply go to the other boss, and they would be able to end off of that one if they choose to do so. And again, with the owl check, they know they're non-boss. Look at the positioning of that owl. It actually could have potentially seen anyone who was standing like here doing bruisers, because you won't necessarily stand directly on top of the point when you're doing bruisers. And again, checking, are they defending? Owl after owl after owl coming out here. So much vision advantage. We could see Dahaka in the top lane trying to get as much soak as he possibly can. Also pushing out the lane so the catapults are not as much of a threat. Bruisers are handling the catapult pressure mid. So for the, if Leftovers get 16, they can fight. If Leftovers get 16, they can fight. They won't have to worry about catapults backdooring them. They won't have to worry about any sort of core pressure. They can just go ahead, straight up, and fight the game. They're not quite 16 yet. It looks like they're waiting. They're expecting it to trickle. Mopsio jumps in, gets thrown into the boss stun, and Kidney gets CC chain 100-0. Not what you want to see. The boss stun helping out there. Doesn't matter who gets the initial stun. I don't think Zelia's missed a follow-up stun so far this game. And that's going to be yet another one, but Mopsio with Avatar is a little bit of a tougher nut to crack than Amaya without her D. But with those 3 kills, even when the boss is probably going to die to the keep before it goes down, honestly, Dig will be able to move directly onto core. That is going to be game. Snitch looking for those resets on his Q with that 16 talent. You can see Mopsio, Polyboss are so low. Zelia, as long as it keeps auto-attacking core, will have enough throughput in terms of healing, sustain. Notice Blakitny going straight for Zelia. They know if they need to kill the sustain more than anything to make this work, but 5% to 0. And that's going to be 2-0 going over in favor of Dignitas.